Welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to show you my new Bianchi. We're going to do a little bit of work to it today. I just got this last weekend and well, come on in, let's take a closer look. I'm actually hoping you guys can help me identify what bike this actually is. So obviously it's a Bianchi. Unfortunately some of the decal is worn off there, but it has a couple different clues. Here it says something about, what's that say, Piaggio? I don't know. Then over here it says limited. So is it a limited or a Piaggio or what? So you guys can let me know. The guy I bought it from, excuse me, the guy I bought it from said it was a 1989, but I'm not sure if he really knows that for sure. This is what I would call a mid-range bike. It has Cyclone M2 rear derailleur, Cyclone M2 front derailleur. For the front and rear brakes, they're die-comp and they are single pivot. And we have Sun Tour shifters. Of course, these are down tube shifters, which I love oh so much. And of course, it's a steel bike. And the reason I say it's a mid-range bike is because it has, which I didn't know about, I never heard about this. So this frame is 022 steel, and I know it's like impossible to read, but I got a lot of lights out and I took a photo of it and I could read that text, and it is actually double butted tubing. So of course it's chromoly double butted tubing, so it's actually a good frame, has mid-range components. I believe it's a size 53 if I measured that right, which is like perfect for me. I can't really tell if it's a 53 or 55 or 54. Let me ask you something, maybe you can tell me. So where do you measure it from? When you measure from the center of the crank, do you measure to the bottom here? Or more back here to the top? It's a little bit different. So if it's down here, it's like a 53. If it's up here, it's more close to a 54. So I don't know what size it is. You guys can let me know. Has these nice, I always forget what they're called, but the crowned forks, bladed forks with the, it's a three-piece, so 1, 2, 3 pieces to the fork. It's not a single piece. I always thought those looked really cool. And of course it's a lugged frame, which, now that I know a little bit more about frame building and frame construction, that doesn't really mean it's better. In fact, you could say it means it's more mass manufactured, maybe even not as good, but I do love how they look. They just look classic, and they even bothered to like paint some of the details in there, which I really like. So best I can tell, it's a 1989 Bianchi Limited, made by the Pego company. So I think Pego was a company, best I could tell, that made like motorbikes or something like that, or scooters or something. And then I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the story. But I also read that a lot of these around this vintage were actually made in Japan rather than Italy, which I think typically for Bianchi makes it worse. But Japanese make really great road bikes at that period. So Japanese frame is really good too. Wheels, they're cool looking wheels. What are they? I don't even know what they are. Oh, okay, I see these a lot on vintage bikes. Again, I don't know how to pronounce it either, but it's like Aria. So they're Aria rims. They look really good. I like the color of the rim itself, kind of like a tan gold color. Looks pretty cool. Made in Japan. And these are 700C, by the way, rather than the 27.25. I think everybody likes 700C better. The tires are actually in pretty good shape. Now they do have the reflective bit on them, which I don't really love. What are they? They're giant tires, giant branded tires, flat guard, 700C, 25 millimeters wide. So kind of narrow road type tires, but at least they're not 23. Honestly, for the bike being what? If it's 1989, that would be 36 years old. Yeah, 36 years old. It's in pretty good shape. There's like no rust anywhere. So it's 36 years old. Probably wasn't used a whole lot. Probably wasn't used a whole lot considering how good of condition it is overall. But one thing I've been kind of ignoring up until now in the video is this. So it didn't come with flat bars. The previous owner, I think he mentioned he had some back issues. So he had, I guess, a bike shop install these to try to be more upright or whatever. He said it didn't really help. So what we're gonna do today is go ahead and put the drop bars back on, which he kindly included, which is very nice of him. So I will put these bars back on. I assume they're the original. And here's the original levers, but we're not gonna use those. They do look so cool, but I really hate these narrow old style brake levers. They're just not that comfortable. And I also don't really like how the cables come up and out the top. Just an aesthetic thing in terms of the cables, but I don't like these narrow levers. They're just not very comfortable, unfortunately, because the lever itself looks really cool. I really like the look of the lever. It'd be cool if somebody made like a big cover that you could put on it that really made it wider and more comfortable. If somebody can make that, that would be awesome. Like it'd be like, I guess, a rubber or plastic big cover to make it kind of feel like a more modern lever, but you still get these old, cool old ones with the cutouts and stuff. Anyway, though, we're not going to use that. We're going to use this. It's from another bike that I built a long time ago. I don't remember what brand these are. I'm trying to look, see if it says. But they're just, honestly, they're kind of cheapies. But they are for like down tube or whatever. They're, you know, there's no integrated shifting in these. So I'll pull these off of here. I'll put them on over there. And I actually didn't buy the world's cheapest bar tape for once. I didn't go to AliExpress. I got the SRAM brand, which is kind of weird to put these like SRAM brand when there's no SRAM on the bike otherwise, but I think I paid like 15 bucks for them. So it's like slightly above the cheapest junk you can get on AliExpress. And for pedals, we're gonna go with these, you know, SPD style mountain bikes. That's what I ride on everything. These have just been kind of floating around different bikes for a long time. These are actually Beachwind brand, which is from the sporting goods store, the French sporting goods store, Decathlon. I probably bought these in France, in fact. I know I brought them over from Switzerland. Anyway, let's get started. Oh, the saddle. I might keep the saddle, I might not. Avocat Touring, I don't know what that means. It's in pretty good shape. Who knows? I'll leave it on for now and then we'll see how it feels. Not loving the look of this old school water bottle cage, but we'll leave it for now. So yeah, pedals, handlebars, put the wheels back on, we'll give it a spin. One nice thing with this deal is I do get some handlebars, which are pretty nice. What do they say? Origin 8 Propulsion Pro Rise. So some nice little riser bars. Definitely throw that in my parts bin. Some decent looking standard brake levers and some nice looking grips. They really don't look like they've been used that much at all. So yeah, that's kind of nice. That's a bonus. Oh, and I didn't mention it. Let's talk about this for a minute. I didn't mention it about price. I usually get like super good deals on bikes. I think most people can agree, but this one I actually paid 120 bucks for, which is more than I usually pay. But I just thought it was in such good condition in terms of the paint and just like overall, it's really clean for a 36-year-old bike. It's a Bianchi, so I think the name brand holds like a little more value. So I don't know, I'm sure I'll flip it. This isn't a forever bike, but maybe I can keep it for a year, enjoy it, enjoy the ride, and then resell it for just a little bit more than I have into it. That would be the goal anyway. Okay, to swap the other bars, we're gonna have to take these grips off first. And these are not lock-on grips, so it's the attention to detail and the fine stuff like this nice mechanism, which costs more to produce and manufacture, but that's kind of just a way you can tell, you know, mid to upper end bikes compared to the low end bikes. They'll have more of these like fine details. Whereas on a lower end bike, they'll try to make it as cheap as possible. So they'll usually simplify things like that, which makes sense, makes economic sense. But when I'm looking for a vintage bike, at least nowadays, I want something nice, as nice as I can possibly afford. Why not? Because typically these bikes aren't even that expensive to begin with. Like I said, $120 for this I would call it mid-range. You know, I'm not an expert on these vintage bikes, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would call this like a mid-range. So yeah, I mean, 120 bucks, you can get a mid-range bike that, yeah, it needs like a few dollars on it because you know, I need to get some bar tape and maybe change the pedals out, but not a lot of money. I'm not really that interested in the low end stuff because it's like the high and the middle stuff is pretty cheap anyway. Anyway, okay, I don't think we don't have to actually take anything off on this side. We should be able to snake it through. First, I do need to disconnect here, just like we did the back. Easy peasy. It's a, in case you're wondering, on that brake caliper, it's an 8mm. It's nice that it's metric. All right, we got everything pretty much disconnected. We can now remove this flat bar. What is this gonna be, a 5mm? Nice, 5mm hex key. What's the right thing to call it, hex or Allen? Is there a difference even? Let me know in the comments. I've traditionally called it Allen, I think, growing up. Maybe living in Europe for a long time, I started calling it hex though. I'm not really sure. I just kind of use it interchangeably now. These are nice looking bars. I like these. Wonder how wide they are. Let's check. Here's something I did. I don't think I shared this with you guys, but I got this Harbor Freight tool bench a while back, and I just put 2 screws. Well, first I punched a second hole in this meter stick that I got from Harbor Freight also for very, very cheap. And then I put 2 screws to mount it. So this is where it kind of lives. Whoa. This is where it lives. It just stays up here. And what it allows me to do is just like really easily measure stuff. So these are about 630mm wide bars, 630, pretty narrow. But as I was trying to say is I can just take this down, use it wherever I want, put it back up, and it has a place to live and a really easy place just to quickly measure things, both metric and imperial. Okay, I'm starting to take off the bar tape so I can get my my levers off. And I just wanted to show you real quick, this is why I'm really starting to go against buying bottom of the bucket stuff. This bar tape I bought from AliExpress, it did its job for a while. I can't complain really. But look, it's separating. And it's not just separating because I'm taking it off. It was already starting to kind of peel up on the bars themselves. So, you know, I don't like it. I don't like this cheap stuff. So bar tape from AliExpress, you get what you pay for. All right, got everything off of the original bars. So I'm just gonna give them a quick wipe down. I don't see any like crazy corrosion. They really don't look like anything special. I've got a bunch of bars that look pretty much just like this. Oh, this is interesting. Let me show you something. I've never seen this before. I don't know if I don't think any of my other ones are like this. This here is a sleeve. It looks like a steel sleeve over aluminum. It says Road Champion Seik Custom Japan. And how I noticed it is right here. You see that? See? Then I noticed that, yeah, this isn't aluminum. This is a steel thing that was put over the aluminum. So, okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and install the handlebars again. The one thing I really don't like about the quill stems is usually they don't have a cap that comes off, so you gotta snake things through, and whenever you take them off, you gotta take everything off. It's really kind of a hassle. There we go. Ooh, yeah, that's looking better. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Headset feels really good. I checked it, I gave it a little ride, you know, before taking the wheels off, and the headset feels fine. I didn't feel any movement at all. Probably has been serviced. Feels really good actually. Okay, next let's go ahead and put the brake levers on, and then we can wrap the bar tape. Now these are marked left and right, and so for this left one, which will be this side, which will be our front brake of course, I'm going to try to use the same cable and housing that were on this lever set from the last bike. Should be fine. 22.2 millimeters is the standard diameter for handlebars. Looks good. And this will just pop in right like that. Perfect, no problem. Okay, let's go ahead and do the back. Now this housing looks really fine and good, so I'm gonna leave the housing, but I'll use the cable from the other brake hood. And for the second one here, we're going to use the same housing just because I'm lazy, and the same housing on the bike and the same cable that came with these levers. So just everything's in good shape. The housing looks good, the cable looks good, so make it easy on ourselves. I'm just pushing this in, by the way, until it comes out the other end, hopefully. Okay, I went ahead and got both the levers on. I did all the cable stuff. I did everything except for putting on the bar tape. So what I think I'm gonna do is go ahead and put the wheels on, give it a ride, see how I like the position of the handlebars, the position of the levers, and once I make some small adjustments, and once I get it locked in, then I'll put the bar tape on. And I'm also just itching to get out and ride it. This bike must have been kept indoors all the time because there's like no rust on it, which is awesome for such an old bike. And I honestly doubt it was used a whole lot. It does appear to be the original paint, some kind of burgundy. Probably not my favorite color, but not too bad either. Okay, these need a lot of adjustment. All right, no problem. The thing I absolutely love about these vintage bikes is how easy they are to work on. I mean, it's honestly a pleasure to work on these bikes, especially after you've done a handful like I have. They're so easy. They're so easy, so simple, at least compared to modern bikes. In fact, if you want to know more reasons I love vintage bikes, I actually have a video. Maybe I'll link it down below. 6 reasons why you should get a vintage road bike. Here's another little detail that shows this is actually a pretty nice bike. See the rear dropout here? It actually has an adjustment screw, so you can adjust how far the axle slides back in the rear dropout notch. And by doing that, you can adjust the tilt of the wheel. A nice, easy, fine way to do it rather than just hoping the end is going to be right, which it usually is. Sometimes I've had them not, and I've actually had to file the end just a little bit. But no, none of that here. You just simply adjust these and then bring it in and use them as a stop. So really nice. I think usually some of the more mid to upper end bikes will have that. This is the second bike I think I've had that's had that feature. Take a listen to that, guys. That's a nice sounding hub, isn't it? Beautiful. This is a 6-speed rear freewheel, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I got the brakes stopping half decent, the shifting half decent. Now it's time to put 100 PSI in these little tires and give it a ride. No, I think I'll probably do like 80 PSI. They're 25 millimeters wide. Also want to go over the whole bike and try to clean it up. It's a bit dusty. Now I just need to get my bike shoes on and go for a little night ride. Okay, I went ahead and did the first test ride. I made some adjustments with everything, including the saddle height and up and down. Made some adjustments up here. Now I got it pretty dialed for my fit. I mean, not perfectly dialed, but good enough as a starting point. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the bars now. Now I'm not going to bore you guys with another wrapping job. I've probably done 10 of those on this channel already, but I'll start off with it just so we can take a look at this SRAM Super Cork bar tape since I've never used this before. Came a little ripped up, unfortunately. Oh, look at that, they put Scotch tape on it. They recognized that it was ripped and they decided to tape it up and send it out anyway. I'm not saying it was SRAM, it was whoever's selling it. It's not so clear in the Facebook. It's not so clear in the Amazon world always who is actually the seller, even if it says like sold by SRAM. It's complicated. I don't feel like getting into it now. Check out my calipers video and you'll see what I mean on that. Yeah, it feels okay. It feels good. Is that dirty? Oh, that's not dirty. That's like it's not dirt. That's supposed to be like that apparently. It's like ingrained. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, get you close up. There's like cork or something like ingrained in the foam. That's interesting. Okay, that's cool, whatever. I've done a lot of bar taping before and I started off the right way going, from outside in. That gives you the nice kind of shingle effect. Then at some point somebody said you can go inside out and then you don't got to use finishing tape or anything. And I did that for a while and it worked fine. But now I think I'm back to my old way of outside in just because it just looks a little nicer, that's all. It's not a big deal. It works both ways, but I'm now going back to the outside in way. Okay, I'm not gonna waste y'all's time and bore you to death watching me do this whole bar tape, but just wanted to let you see what it kind of looked like. It looks very kind of, I don't know, like grippy. I guess it has like bumps to it. It's kind of interesting. But like I said, I'm not gonna bore you. So let me go ahead and turn this off before I get to the hard part up here where I make myself look like a fool. Okay folks, I got the bar tape on, looks really nice. So I'm pretty much done for tonight. The bike's riding good. I will probably do a little bit of tune up here and there, adjust the brakes, adjust the shifters, all that stuff. but I won't bore you with that. So it's 11 o'clock at night. Probably just clean up this huge mess I have, and let's watch the next video, because the next video, we're gonna take this on a ride somewhere. A little adventure with the vintage bike. See you guys next time. All right, folks, it's actually the very next day, and I did a couple more little things I wanted to go over before we take it out for a ride. Ended up the rear brake was rubbing a little bit. It was tilted, the whole thing was tilted to the side, and it's a little bit interesting how these work. What you actually do, I was very lucky I had the right tool, but basically let me see if I can get you a better angle. So basically you come from the back with a hex wrench, loosen it up, adjust this left or right, and then retighten the hex. And that allows you to center where it's gonna be. So I centered that up, no more rubbing. The wheel, whoops, the pedal just hit the tripod. The wheel isn't perfectly true, but it's pretty close, as you can see. It's a little bit out, I might work on that. But anyway, I centered it enough where it doesn't rub anymore. I also went over the whole frame with, what's it called, Pledge like table cleaner. And I got that idea from the Bike Farmer, and gosh, it really does work. It's really glossy now. Looks way better. It was pretty dusty before anyway, but it's looking really good now. Once we get outside, we'll do like a little photo shoot. And the other little issue I ran into while I was test riding it last night was when I would put it in the large front chainring, it would fall back out. Not because it wasn't aligned right, but because this wasn't tight enough, and so the friction was actually, I think that way going back. It wasn't friction. There wasn't enough friction, so I tightened this up nice and tight with my hands, and now it's holding in place just fine. So that's pretty much all I did just in this last 15 minutes. Now there's one more thing I want to do before we wrap this video up, and that is, let's see how wide of a tire this bike can fit. And I have just the tool for it. Do you happen to remember I made this tool several videos back? If you don't, I can link that down below. Basically, it's a tool that tells you what size tire you can fit on any given bike. So let's go ahead and use it. This really isn't that critical where these are, as long as they just kind of hold the axle into place. You'll see how that works in a minute. So it doesn't matter which side I'm turning in. I'm just going to turn in one side to make it a little bit easier on myself. Stick in here, put some pressure on the frame. Here we go. That's fine. As long as it's all the way back, which it is, back to these stops. Now you take your gauge here, which is a semi-precision made here. And also we want to see what size wheel. So we're going to go with the 29 because 700C. And then you pick which tire size you want to try. I think maybe I should have made some smaller ones, because I think it looks like the smallest one I have is 34. I would like to try a 32 on here, so we'll just have to go with the 34. So you take your 34 and stick it on the 29 and the 29er slot. Make sure it goes all the way down, that's very important. You can buy this. I didn't invent it, I just kind of copied it. There we go. Got these off Thingiverse. And this I just kind of figured out myself, I think. I don't know, watch the video. So then you just stick this part on your axle, like that, all the way down. And then you can check the clearance. So with the 34, it actually does fit, but just barely. If I wiggle it back and forth, there's only a few millimeters room. This is why I really wish I had one for a 32. But if this is 34, you can assume 1 millimeter less on each side, which I think is still pushing it, to be honest. I feel like that might be a little too tight, because there's only, yeah, I think even 32 is going to be too tight for this bike, and that's just the bottom. Yeah, it looks like the top actually would be more okay. We're okay on the top. It's the chain stays that are, even 32 will probably be pushing it. 28, no problem. 32, unfortunately, it's not going to fit. However, I'm pretty sure this is kind of a cool thing. If I wanted to, I could also test for a 650B, which is 27.5. Go ahead and do that. So I'm going to slide it on the 27.5, which, as you can see, is substantially smaller. Stick that on the axle. And yeah, that's better. That tells me if I did want to switch to a 650B rear wheel, even the 34 would probably be acceptable. You can see there's, I would say, about 5 millimeters on each side, and if I went to a 32, it would be even like 6, which is like a 1/4 inch. 6.35 is a 1/4 inch, so 1/4 inch is, you know, more than enough. So yeah, that might be cool to go with 32s, at least on the back, maybe a mullet setup, or maybe 650B with 32s front and back would be kind of cool. The brakes wouldn't work, they would hit right into the tire, so that wouldn't work. However, I do have, let's see if I can grab them. I do have these Tektros I bought a long time ago, and they're long reach calipers, so I mean, just kind of eyeballing it, that looks like it might work. Could possibly go with the 650B 32 mil tire, long reach Tektro calipers. Because I'm really a big fan of the big tires. I know I hate being trendy, I hate going along with what everybody else is doing, but I just feel, honestly, for the biggest thing for me when it comes to the fat tires, the bigger tires, and I count 32 even as pretty big, isn't the performance, and it's not even the comfort, it's actually the safety. I just feel safer riding on bigger tires now that I'm used to them. You know, in a kind of an emergency, you can jump off the road if you need to, you can ride off-road more, you know, and a lot of funky stuff happens when you're riding out here in the mean streets. And I just feel really comfortable with more comfortable with the bigger tires. So I don't know, let me know in the comments, should I play with putting 650B 32s, maybe even 35s, but probably more than likely 32s on this bike? I think I probably will, but let me know what you think. If that's a good idea or not. I know then your cranks are a little bit lower to the ground. You can get shorter cranks. I like these cranks though. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it as is for now, for sure. All right, thanks everybody for watching the video. See you in the next one. Bye.